As-salam alaikum. My brothers and sisters, today we're going to talk about a hero of faith. We've all heard stories of prophets and messengers, but have you ever heard the story of an ordinary man who lived an extraordinary life? Today I want to share with you the incredible story of an ordinary man who became known as the Albanian Imam. What happened to him is a lesson for us all, especially today when the Ummah needs men like him more than ever. In the mid-20th century, there was a country whose silence was deafening. This wasn't the silence of night or the peace of a quiet town. No, this was the silence of a nation made to forget its soul. The country was Albania, and its people were living under the heavy shadow of communism. Imagine growing up in a world where saying a prayer could land you in jail, where reading the Quran was like holding a forbidden treasure. That was the reality for Albanians back then. Now you might ask, why pray in secret? Why whisper prayers instead of saying them loud? The answer lies in the heart of the enemy's plan. The communist leaders wanted to create a new generation, a generation without God, without faith. They shut down every mosque, every Islamic school, turning places of worship into empty shells. They outlawed religious celebrations and gatherings. Even mentioning the word prayer could get you into trouble. And to make matters worse, they kept a close watch on people's homes. Neighbors spied on one another, always on the lookout for any sign of practicing one's religion. Fear hung heavy in the air like a thick fog. Yet even in this suffocating environment, a glimmer of hope emerged. Sheikh Imam Vehabibura, an ordinary man on the outside, became an extraordinary beacon of faith. He didn't own a gun or lead an army, but his spirit was armed with an even stronger weapon, his faith. So who was this man? Why did he take such risks? How did he defy the regime? And most importantly, how did he keep the flame of faith alive? To understand his story, we must travel back in time to the 1960s and 70s in Albania. By now, the communist government had taken control of everything: schools, factories, even people's minds. But the younger generation wasn't as easily swayed as the older folks. Many young Albanians felt the emptiness of a life without meaning. And guess what? The government noticed this. They thought if they could brainwash the youth, they could win against Islam once and for all. But little did they know that the seeds of faith run deep. It's like trying to kill a tree by chopping off its branches. The roots are still there. Enter the hero of our story, Sheikh Imam Vehabibura. Like many others, he had studied at an Islamic school and become a respected teacher. But now with mosques closed, teaching Islam openly was out of the question. So he did something extraordinary. He turned every house into a mosque. Well, not literally, of course, but whenever a family was ready, he would gather their children and secretly teach them about Islam. Imagine sitting in a basement, lit only by a dim lamp, listening intently to the teachings of the Quran. These weren't just lessons. They were acts of bravery. Each child who listened was taking a stand against the regime. But how could they afford to risk it all? Why not keep their heads down and wait for better times? Because these people knew that if they didn't act, their faith, their culture, their entire identity would disappear. And let's face it, they had good reason to be scared. The government had a special police force, the Sigurimi, whose job was to hunt down anyone involved in religious activities. If caught, these innocent people faced imprisonment, torture, maybe even death. Yet despite the danger, they continued. How did they manage to stay hidden for so long? Part of it was because the Albanians were resilient and used to living under difficult conditions. They knew how to keep secrets close and move around unnoticed. Plus, not everyone liked the communists, so some people turned a blind eye to these secret gatherings. You see, the government had made life hard for everyone, not just religious people. So when given a choice between an empty life under communism or seeking solace in faith, many chose the latter. It was like hiding a precious gem in plain sight. The communist leaders couldn't see what they didn't want to believe existed. But eventually, like all secrets, it came out. One day in 1981, the authorities got wind of Sheikh Imam Wahabiura's activities. They raided his house and arrested him along with several children. Can you imagine their surprise when they found a group of kids reciting the Quran? The government thought it was the perfect chance to deal a heavy blow to the Islamic community. They paraded the sheikh and the children through the streets, using them as an example to scare others. Then they put the sheikh on trial in a packed courtroom. The judge, well, he wasn't interested in justice. He had been handpicked by the government to do their dirty work. The trial was nothing but a show. Everyone knew the outcome already. When the judge asked the sheikh why he had broken the law, his answer shook the courtroom. He said, "I've done nothing wrong. I was teaching these children the Quran. What crime is there in that?" The judge ignored his words and sentenced him to 15 years in prison plus 3 years of isolation. The children got 5 years each. The sheikh spent many years behind bars, enduring the harsh conditions and hoping for better days. But he never gave up his faith or wavered in his beliefs. And finally, in 1991, the government collapsed. Albania was on the path to democracy, and freedom of religion was restored. People rushed to mosques to pray. It was like a dam breaking. Once the floodgates of worship opened, everyone wanted to pour out their devotion onto the streets. But there was one thing missing. Where was their spiritual leader? Where was the sheikh who had guided them through those dark years? The people went looking for him, and when they found him, they brought him back to the mosque. On that day, the old mosque echoed with the sound of prayer once again. The sheikh returned to his pulpit, and when he called Allahu Akbar, the crowd wept. They wept not out of sadness, but because they remembered, because they had rediscovered the strength of their faith. This man, the humble Albanian Imam, became a legend in his community. His story reminds us that sometimes the greatest victories are won not with weapons, but with faith. In the face of adversity, he dared to teach Islam in secret, shaping the future of his community. Remember him. Remember his courage and his unwavering faith. Let his story inspire you to stand up for what you believe in, no matter how tough it gets. Some may ask, why is this story important today? Why should we care about an event that happened so long ago? The answer is simple. Because the struggles of the Albanians under communism are not so different from the struggles Muslims face today. Everywhere, Muslims are being mocked, their faith is being challenged, and their practices are being banned. So the story of this Albanian Imam is a source of strength and inspiration for all of us. It teaches us that no matter how difficult things get, we should never give up on our faith. We should never compromise on our beliefs, and we should never lose hope. So let us take a lesson from the Albanian Imam. Let us remember his courage and his determination to hold on to his faith no matter what. And let us remember that we are not alone in this struggle. There are millions of Muslims all over the world who are facing similar challenges and who need our support and our solidarity. Let us stand together and support each other in this difficult journey, and let us never forget that Allah Almighty is with us. He will never leave us alone. May the story of the Albanian Imam remind us of the importance of holding on to our faith, no matter how difficult the circumstances may seem. May it inspire us to be brave in the face of adversity and to stand up for what we believe in. And may it remind us that we are part of a larger community of Muslims all over the world who are facing similar challenges and who need our support and our solidarity. Thank you very much. As-salam alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.